Welcome back to your dose. My name is Robert, here with Susan. We are talking about dangerous stories in Parkinson's. It's a brand new blog up on our website, yesandexercise.org. Please check it out. Leave us comments. Tell us what you think about dangerous stories and their effect on Parkinson's disease. We talked earlier about the difficulty in A, recognizing, B, telling, I guess exploring would be the second, that'd be the B, and then three, telling these fully formed, these whole stories we talked about with true arc in them, right? Brought up vulnerability. And now I want to bring up this concept within that, as you know, I've been pushing harder on that I really think is a key to helping people because of that fear of vulnerability, of saying the actual thing out loud. And the concept is mythologizing oneself, mythologizing the story. You're living that to a degree because you're telling this beautifully mythologized story right now with Ellie and Flint and Talk, right? And that's been a long journey to get to where you're writing this. Speak to the power of mythologizing your journey in order to unlock more truth about your journey.
Well, as a specific example, early on, Ellie, who's about 50 in my story, and has had a lovely, happy, successful career, she has had Parkinson's now for some time. And the first time it's mentioned in the story, it's very lighthearted. Somebody offers her something to smell, and she's like, Don't you forget I have Parkinson's? I can't smell anything."
Mm,
And I know where I'm going with that. She's not that old. She's had it for a while, and it'll be weaving in more and more. It's easier to tell that story
yeah.
because Ellie's kind of me, right? Kind of me, not specifically, perfectly, exactly, but
She's a mythologized version of you, and that's the point, right? You
yeah.
have the freedom to have Ellie do, be, and become what she needs to be in a world that you, Susan, have never been. You've never actually been to a place called Harmony, Montana. You've never actually had a dragon in your life. You've never actually had a talking dog in your life.
I don't know.
But you can have these things in the story,
Yeah.
and they
And
can. Well, what do they do? What is it? Why do those things? Because people look at that and go, well, isn't that kind of, I mean, silly or fanciful? Why would that help tell a Parkinson's story?
I think it makes it open to a bigger audience. It
Yes.
gives me the writer more chance to connect with more people at
Hmm.
different levels in different ways. So the fact that I have this miniature dragon who's friendly and loving, and this talking dog who's a wise old guy and mentoring, it, I hope will present uh, options for people to consider beyond the straight normal going through life thing that we think we do.
So, I mean, what I'm hearing is that the goal is just to tell a great story, and there happens to be Parkinson's in there, and so I've used this before. The metaphor is almost Trojan horse. You're delivering the medicine, as it were, the message inside of a well-known, I mean, the trope of fantasy adventures out there, right? And that's what you've got. You've got a fantasy adventure in a very interesting, strong female lead protagonist, fantastical creatures in a mythical world that feels like ours, just maybe, turned 90 degrees, kind of. We've talked about the Hogwarts thing all the time. So why would that matter? I guess let me brand this toward Parkinson's. Why do we need more people to understand what Parkinson's really is? What is the benefit there?
The truth, honesty, uh, planning, preparing, being realistic as a
But it's
family
a person
member.
who has no one with Parkinson's in their life, who maybe is like, I feel bad for you, but I got my own stuff. Why do they need to know?
Members of the human race. I mean,
Well, I'll put a pin on that to say, look at fastest growing neurological disease in the world. If you don't know somebody now, You probably will in the next 20 years. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. And
that's
they're
numbers,
in,
that's science.
so I would say then it's consciousness raising. 23 years ago, when I had breast cancer the first time, the statistics then, and what people would say is 1 out of every 8 women you meet are going to get breast cancer. And that was just stunning, shocking, amazing. But what did it do? It made more of us go to the doctor and do our checks and be responsible for our health. So with Parkinson's, as more of these weird little symptoms that we get, like one of the people who's recently joined our group said it was actually his handwriting. When
Yeah.
his handwriting got so bad, his neurologist, he had a neurologist who was not a movement disorder specialist. And when that happened, he said, you know what? We need to do some different tests.
Yep. I want to
So,
come back.
because
I want to
he
hit.
knew, he knew
Well, that's right. Yes, that's
the
right.
symptom. Yeah.
That's right. And you hit on something that deserves its own episode, which is acute versus chronic in the storytelling world, because you've lived with both. And so, yeah, let's come back and we're going to talk about the difference
Okay.
because they are different. Good job.